Hey guys, everyone, welcome to another stream. Tonight we have a nice guest again, Kim, who's gonna introduce himself a little bit, and we talk about modeling and shading. So, as the guys of you and girls, obviously this goes for both genders, have been watching this for the last weeks. This is now the eighth show, 8 times, and this is also probably going to be the last one for a while. Yeah, because we're going on holidays with the family, so I'm going to take a little break from doing that every week. But tonight we are going to look at cool shit. Not from me though, because I kind of talked about everything I had on my mind. I went through all the ideas I had for that stream, and we talked about all of that stuff. And like those streams are available on YouTube or also on Twitch, but they are not here for forever. But on YouTube you can still look at them. And I'm also editing tutorials from the most interesting bits and pieces, editing it together so that you guys can have a bit more of a concise look. And I am putting that actually on YouTube, and I'm gonna send around the link to the playlist. So this is a playlist of tutorials I made, mostly Spark related, but also featuring other platforms, and yeah, so go there, enjoy that stuff, and again, tonight's going to be mostly Kim showing his amazing work and chit-chatting about that, and so yeah, I don't know. Why don't we bring him in? Let's see. So and yeah, and obviously, like all the files and everything from the last bunch of streams are available on Discord. And there he is. All right. Hi, Kim. How's it going? Oh, sorry. I have to now switch over. Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just gonna pause the music for a second. Yeah, how's it going? Welcome on the show, so to speak. I am. So you just told me we just oh, that's the thing we don't hear. You don't hear me, or you don't hear Kim? Can you say something, Kim? Yeah, I can hear you, and people on the stream should be able to hear you too. But let's just wait for a second, whether that's the case or not. Oh, they can't hear you. Can you say something? Yeah, say something again. Oh, hold on. I have. Okay. Oh, we should have probably tested that. Hold on. Default. That's kind of weird because it did work all the other times. Okay. Say something again.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think now they can hear you.
Oh, great. All right.
Yeah, you're coming up anyway on the audio indicator. Yeah, cool. Now they hear you. All right. Yeah, sorry for that. We did have a little test call earlier, but we didn't test this particular aspect because that usually worked every time flawlessly. So I didn't think of testing that. All right, cool.
Yeah, I feel really bad about my video quality, so I apologize for that, guys.
That's totally fine. It actually took me a while to get to that quality. And actually, Lasse saw earlier. Yes, I have a new camera. Beautiful depth of field. But unfortunately, yeah, the setup isn't ready yet. I am gonna work a little bit on the setup, and then I am also planning on to keep doing this, but again, not for a while. Maybe let's see what happens. It also felt to me like I started this kind of like in this mindset of, hey, quarantine and I don't know, lockdown and so on. And so, how about you? How have you been handling that?
It's been very paranoid.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah,
you
like
didn't.
yeah, it's I've been in lockdown now for maybe like the last 2 months. Um, yeah, I went on lockdown like maybe 2 weeks before they even announced the lockdown.
Okay. Yeah, me
You
too,
know,
actually.
yeah, just watching the numbers, like a math, you know, I can see math, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
when I would see 100 cases, I was seeing more 1,000 cases. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So I just said to my wife and my uh, family that like my daughter needs to stop going to school, and I stopped going into the office as well. So we've all been working remotely since then. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned earlier, so like we haven't met yet before today. We just know each other from the forum. Kind of like I've been watching what you've been doing and so on. But so maybe just give us a little introduction. What do you do? Because I don't even know. I just see your work, but like
Yeah.
give us the backstory.
Um, right. So, yeah, I'm Kim. Uh, People know me as the guy that makes all these animal filters. uh, I co-own a company, or I own a company with um, 3 other guys. We call ourselves the Pixel Chefs. Um, yeah, we do a lot of animation, 3D animation. We do a lot of client filters. Uh, we do a lot of work with Facebook Africa, and yeah, we managed to make one of the partner lists for Spark AR. Um, yeah, and yeah, me myself personally, I've been in the animation industry for good on 15 years now. So I've been through it all. I've been in television. I've done animation for web. Um, I eventually did a lot of digital stuff, like messing around with Unity, making Kinect games, and yeah, as well with augmented reality. It's also been a good solid 8 years now dealing with it. So I also started playing around with augmented reality around uh, maybe 2013 or so. Using Euphoria and all of that jazz. So um, yeah, when Spark came out, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise. Yeah.
So how did you start out? Did you study, or is this a self-taught?
Well, before I graduated in 2002 from a art school. So my brother and I'm sure people are familiar with my brother on the community as well, Dylan. We graduated from National School of the Arts. So I really have a traditional background in fine art. So sculpture, while everyone was doing a regular, math, science, I was doing jewelry and ceramics. Um, yeah, so after that, uh, I did around 2 years of 3D animation. So that was learning 3ds Max and just visual effects, so compositing, rendering. Yeah, so I was pretty much trained as a CGI visual artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started with 3D Max also, actually. I started with 3D Studio and 4.0 in
Oh,
MS-DOS. So like this
oh
is
wow.
before Max came out, and then I switched to Max and I actually used it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then I learned a little bit of Maya, but I didn't like that at all. Then I switched to XSI and so on. And Max kind of has been stuck around, but it's like I think it feels probably I don't know. I haven't opened it in forever, but it always felt like very old school in a way.
Yeah.
But you know, like if you use it for that long, then probably gets the job done. And for what you do, as far as I see from your filter work, at least, it's mostly, or it's a lot of modeling, for which Max obviously is amazing. I think it probably has a great toolkit for that, and like the whole baking stuff and so on, because you know it's very it's used a lot in games. Well, I think probably now Maya even also, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
how
no,
did you?
Max is what I feel most comfortable
Yeah,
in at the moment. Like
yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of people seem to be jump into the Blender,
yeah.
which should be the next obvious one. But yeah, for now,
True, yeah. Blender's an obvious one, but I didn't have time to look at that either. I keep watching those trailers with all the cool features, and I always think to myself, oh, I should spend some time to learn Blender. But you know, you can't learn everything, and also, it's not about the tool; it's about how you use it, right? And this is very
yeah,
much true for Max as well as for Spark, I suppose. And your work really shows a side of Spark that I don't see a lot, because your stuff always looks super premium and high end. The visual quality is very appealing, and it shows that you do need a lot of experience to pull that off.
yeah.
That's, I think, mostly it. And yeah, super happy to have you on tonight and to show us a little bit about your workflow.
Right.
So I don't know, do you want to jump right in?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I just need to. Yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of take people through, like just I can't really call it basics because like yeah, it's you'll see it. I'm
Yeah,
gonna share my screen now.
yeah, and I'm gonna ask stupid questions.
No problem.
All right.
All right. Okay, let me see what I got here. Right, so everyone not familiar with Max, this is what it looks like. Okay, so usually when you know, whenever I start a job, you know, like if it's a personal filter, you know, I always have some sort of story that I want to kind of tell, you know, like most of my filters might they seem just so random, but they actually have something that's happened to me, um, you know, recently. So you know, I'll come up with the concept. I'll just think, okay, you know, for my shark, it was something where, you know, I just had a very emotional moment where I felt like I needed armor, you know, and you could kind of see into this shark's heart in a sense, you know, but he's bulletproof. So what I first did was, you know, one of the most important things is truly like reference. So, you know, just go onto your Google and, you know, just find as much reference as you can find. So these are just some of the images that I found that, you know, appealed to me. So you see, looking for different kinds of metals and different kind of styles. You know, this one was a very steampunky type of vibe. The next thing I do is I start sourcing anything that will make my job easier. So the obvious step would be to get a shark. Right? So this is just something you can find on just a regular asset store. And sometimes you need to fix these things up because the meshes aren't that great. So I just kind of started with this as like the base model, and I would start building on top of this. So what I do is I convert this to a mesh. So for example, I take some of the nose aspect, for that little piece of armor, so on and so forth. This is just really rough, just to give you guys kind of an idea of what I do. And in this case, I proper just re-typologize this, just because the mesh is like really, it's not clean. Right. So that, for example, would just be, imagine that as a piece of armor. Okay. Right. Yeah. So just imagine that was some piece of armor. So anyway, when I'm done modeling all of that, get something. We eventually end up with something like that. So this is literally piece by piece that model. So my preference is I prefer to model the low poly before I get into any high poly stuff. So one of the most important things as well is it's twice the work, but it's so important to get that kind of to get that kind of detail or smooth edges eventually when you end up in Substance Painter. Let me move this to the side. So this is what your low poly will look like for every little piece here. So this shark here, I kind of had to split it up into two sections to keep the actual shark and then the armor separately. And then eventually we turn that into one mesh. So another important thing that people should learn is unwrapping, UV unwrapping, because that's exactly what's going to allow you to texture eventually and be able to bake out your normal maps and your ORM maps, and this will get Substance to understand where to place rust in a certain section. I show you what this UV map looks like. Yeah, this one's a little messy, but I had quite a bit of bits here that I had to grab. So these are just the UV coordinates for everything here. So we can go top of the head here. And not just for the armor, but this all for the shark here. Actually, back here. Yeah, the shark is just all unwrapped. So these guys should all have coordinate systems. Right. Okay, so another important thing that you need to do before exporting any of your models is Substance Painter doesn't recognize your object through it just being an object. It actually recognizes your object through its material. So I'd have to put a material on my armor, and I'd have to name that, yeah, just name this metal, and then this I'd call body. Once I've done that, I can export this object. So I'll export selected. And up here. Okay. Now I'll make a folder here called FX. So this is what you do before you even consider animation, any of this. So I'll call this shark. Whole body. Alright, we don't need anything there. So you'll export as an FBX. Hit OK. And then this is the important step, is matching up your high body. If you guys can see, like, all of this detail here, see how smooth those edges are. So everything's really smooth on this object here. So it's a lot of detail that's going to get picked up. All this detail is going to show up on this rough, on this really low body stuff. Okay. So next step is matching this up. So this is very important. You have to align, have to match these up here. So the closer you get them, the better it's going to be. Okay. So these are matched up exactly. I am going to export this, export selected, and we're going to call this shark high body. Okay. Now that we're done with that, we can now go to substance. Right, so this is Substance Painter. this is where all the PBR magic happens. So we're gonna create a new file. Now these settings here, I won't lie, but I don't understand the DirectX OpenGL, so I just put on DirectX. I prefer to work in a higher document resolution, so I stick to 2048 just for for these purposes, and then I can always just down raise everything from there. I don't really use any selected template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the low poly. Select the low poly shot. And because I already have a map for the shark, I'm also going to add that shark map here. So I'm going to add these two maps here. This is the material for the skin of the shark, and its normal map as well. Right.
So the normal map you just imported, is this already all the high-res detail baked in there, what we just talked about, or what is this normal map?
No, this normal map was so you see the shark came with like a texture already, except I had to do certain things to it. So yeah, that map is just, so here's the shark skin, and this is just the normal for the shark skin. That makes sense. So you can see the gills and all of that. This is just for the shark, right? Okay, so now that we've done all the UV stuff, the first thing I do before I add any textures onto this is I go to my texture settings, and you scroll down here, you should see something that says Bake Mesh Maps. So this is my first step, is taking all of that high poly detail and baking it onto my low poly. All right, so this here is also just the resolution setting. So I like to keep it to 2048. I'll set that to 2048, and then I pick my higher res shot. So here's my high poly shot. All of these settings on the side, I keep them on: the position, the thickness, the ambient occlusion, your world space normal. I keep all of that on. So now you can see as well that because of my textures, I have two materials here. So these are pretty much two objects. So you can either bake each one individual, or you can just bake all texture sets. So I'll just hit bake all texture sets. So just watch what happens when I hit that. Might take a little bit of time here. Oops, there's the shark. And yeah, this may take a bit too. Oh, oh. Yeah, excuse me guys, but this is a little bit of an older substance painter, just because we bought a license maybe a year ago, so the new settings are probably much better. Right, there we go. So now you can see that like all of this detail was baked on, and that includes like all your position, your thickness, all of that. So now we're gonna go to our layers. So now you can see each thing is separate here. So I can start texturing my body separately and the metal separately. So every time I switch to this, you'll just get a whole set of new layers. Okay. So another thing that I prefer to do before I start is to actually push my ambient up, because the first initial bake doesn't quite push your ambient up nicely. So I like to add like a full layer, and then I will add the ambient diffusion into my base color. Then you put that to switch all of these on. And then I'll turn this layer and I'll multiply it so that my ambient sticks out a little bit more. I'll do the same thing for my body as well. I'll add a full layer, throw that into the base. Because all I want is the color. I just need the color so that like it gives it a lot more. And put that on multiply as well. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the easier thing, is the body. So I'm gonna throw that diffuse texture on there. So I'm gonna take my sharpener. Still don't know why they keep it at a tile of 3 initially. Boom. And then I'm gonna take my normal map here for my sharp, and I'm still gonna throw that on there. But you know what? I don't like that normal, so maybe keep that normal for. Right. Okay, now for the cool metal stuff. So because we baked out all sorts of like position maps and all of that, you find different materials. So you can find your standard materials, you know. So if I throw this on here, you'll get just like a standard gold that's got no real variation. You know, it's just standard. Or this is brass, sorry. This is just the standard brass texture. So because we bake our position maps, like it allows you to use a lot more of your smart materials, which have a bit more dynamic textures to it. So now, like I said, you can grab, you know, any texture and just like slap it on. But in this case, I'm rather going to use a lot more smart materials because of the way they look. So copper, for example, this here is a nice worn copper. If I throw this on here, you can kind of see that it looks a lot more dynamic than than the previous material. So in order to separate these textures, you use masks. So I like to rather fill the object and then start choosing what I want. I'll go in and I'll have you have a little selection tool here. So you can either polygon fill, where you can select each polygon, or you can just select chunks of it. So for example, like this one pieces to be or copper, sorry. Maybe I'll just do that again. Okay, so yeah, like I said, what's really great about using this extra ambient map, especially with metals, is look at the difference when you switch it off. Can you see that? So just using that ambient, you know, it's a little step that people can not see as important, but it really is the subtle things that make things look real. Okay, so let me start going in with some steel. So now I'll put steel over, and we'll start. I mean, look at how nice that looks with these scratches here. You know, so the great thing about baking your position maps is that, like, it can really understand it can really understand where the scratches need to go and so on and so forth. So here I'm gonna put another black here. Start putting all of this stuff. So this just really is an example of what I do. We'll just keep it. Yeah. And I think what I did for the gold, I didn't quite use gold. So all I do is I keep just throwing on textures, and then like I'll just start using the black mask to put everything. You can still go back here and put in your ball. like plastic, black plastic. Yeah. So like I said, I'm not gonna go into all of the details. Hopefully you guys should know. Okay, so another cool thing. Okay, let me actually fill all of this stuff in here with just copper. Yeah, so for example, like I did many variations of this just because like I was torn between doing a copper shark or a gold shark. Okay, so anyway, this is the base of kind of what we've done in it's a really short time. Now again, a very cool thing about even just baking out your position stuff is that you can start adding extra stuff on. So let's say we want to make the shark dirty, you know, and say he went through a dirt pile or whatever. You can just go and find a brown color. And you have these smart masks that you can use that you can just drag onto these layers here. And you can control these. You can control these here. Guys. There we go. So just with using sliders, you can eventually end up controlling these kinds of things. So this is a grounded. If you're not happy with that, you can see. So you can have done edges where it will only affect your edges. And just control the global balance here. So those are so really fun things that you can play with. Okay, so eventually when you've textured all of this and you're happy with it, let me show you what I eventually came up with here. So this is eventually what mine ended up looking like. So another cool thing about substances, you know, back then when we had to edit UV maps, we had to go into Photoshop and and create stickers in Photoshop and keep importing and all of that jazz, you know. So now you can literally like leave Photoshop and bring these stickers in. So I usually just make these alpha stickers and I make them at 1024 by 1024. You can drag it in that picture imported. Then and just create another layer. Then we will find that, drag this into our base, and take this alpha off. Then boom. Oh, sorry. Switch over that off. Then you can start feeding it. Make him all pretty. Okay, so once you have that, like, I'm gonna show you guys like the older technique, because I remember you saying, Nate, that that they had a new export feature. So when you're ready to export your textures, yeah, I'm still using the old features. So I'm still using the Unreal Engine setting, and yeah, I just export as a JPEG depending on if I have any alphas, which I don't. So I'm just gonna export as a JPEG. Okay. So let me actually put this on. Okay, so I've got my Unreal. This should be should have a Spark preset already if you have new substance. Okay, then we export that. Okay, so what's gonna show up with what's gonna show up are these textures. So here we have a diffuse map, a normal map, and a ORM map, which is going to control your reflection. So here as well, we have for the shark body, we still have all of that stuff baked out. ORM. Okay, so here's where things get a little more interesting. So now we have our model ready. So this is now ready for rigging and animation. So close this, save that. And we are gonna go back to Max. Okay. All right. So when we get back to Max and it's time to rig, we're gonna bring our textures in as well. So here I think I have, yeah. So here I have my shark texture, my armor texture, and I have my shark texture in here. Perfect. In this case, I was fortunate enough to have a custom rig for what I like to use for any creature stuff, which is, I think it is default with 3D Max. It's called Cat. So if I think I have it already. So this is, it doesn't look like much, but this is supposed to be a fish shark rig. So I rigged this shark up, and in this case I needed a few separate objects, so I wanted this to open, and so I ended up linking this to one of the bones, and I also wanted this separate so I could control it in Spark as well. Just these little details. Now what's really cool about Cat is that if you go to the motion panel here, you can layer animations, and you can also just affect stuff through sliders. So if I play this here and I'm like, you know, when I see the pick this here, see I can affect the motion just through sliders. Yeah, so you see that. And then you also get these really cool rigs that come standard as well. So if I choose a cat parent here, it's a crab. It's as easy as just adding a walk cycle and boom. So for my bugs, I use the spider rig, and you know, you just basically run that kind of animation on it. Okay, so animation is done. I usually just animate my characters walking in one place, or in this case, they swim in one place. And I prefer to control everything else in Spark. Okay, so that's everything. So now you textured, you rigged, you animated, and now that open. We go to Spark. Right. So I'm gonna use this world object template, just because, yeah, it seems to be a little bit easier now. Like, since some of these scripts are getting depreciated, and it's already got all the things I need for scaling and all of that stuff. So we are going to import our assets. All right, so I'm just going to use if this is so I have my animation and my FBX that was exported. Okay, so I'm gonna drag my shark in. Okay, so this showed up with textures. Usually it shouldn't show up with any textures on it. Then I am going to import all my maps. Okay. So let me first drag this into my plane tracker so that it centers it. Then go into switch. I'm gonna delete this here. And what's important, guys, is just don't delete this drop shadow, because like it's a really cool feature that you can eventually use instead of having to recreate one. And then what I do as well is I switch this rotation. Okay. Scale this a little bit. Okay, so usually like out of max it will sometimes throw a texture in here, but discard this one because I don't know if it's some sort of like bug that doesn't quite work like creating an original fish doll. Oh shit, it's already. Call it update. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're first gonna put the diffuse armor texture in here. First place. Okay, so first I'm gonna work on the armor here. And we are going to change this to physically based. Okay, so first it's gonna look like really gross. So I'm gonna put this on here. Then we're gonna take our ORM texture, so the sharp fusion, roughness, and metallic. We're also gonna put the normal map on there. Then we are going to push all of this up. Okay, so a lot of people get confused when they like, why is my metal not showing up? But in order for your ORM to work, you have to have an environment texture. So I usually like the office, but it also depends what look you're kind of looking for. So I usually start with just this office texture here. Switch on this environment. Boom. So this also isn't like my complete desired result, because metals don't seem to look nice when your texture is on linear. So if you go to your diffuse texture and you change that to RGB, like it comes out so much better. Okay, so that's it for just the metallic texture. For the armor, now I'm gonna do sharp body, sharp body texture. To do the same, make it physically based. Then I'm going to take dark base color. Put the over in here. The sharp as well. The normal sharp. And now just for visual sense, like I'm just gonna see it. Yeah. So sometimes I'll be like, oh, I actually like skin a bit lighter, whatever. Let me actually just a bit lighter. Yeah, like, alright. Okay, so now that we kind of got like our textures done and all of that, now I'm gonna start with the animation. So I'm gonna add a animation playback controller. Like again, I say, guys, this is just how I do it. I don't know if it's the actual way to do it, but yeah, I'm just gonna show you guys that. So pull the sharp animation. So your shark should have come in with at least one take over here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna select our shark animation controller, and we're gonna insert that tape. We're gonna go to the shark, and under animation here with no controller selected, we're gonna take that. We're gonna put the animation. Okay, so now that he's just looping like that, I'm gonna drag him into little controller thingy here. Okay, so a lot of people ask me how I do the shadow, and it's really isn't rocket science. I usually use the drop shadow that's already in there. I just like to push it up a bit, the opacity, so I can see it. And I really dig this feature from the guys added in Spark, which is this SDF smoother thing. Yeah, I don't know. You guys are the patch kings, so I just like to push that up so it kind of just blurs it out. Let me lift this a bit. And literally all I do is I take this drop shadow and I I'll scale it to whatever basic shape. Scale it to the basic shape. See what happens if I drag. Cool. Yeah, I'll even name this just like even name it Shark Controller. Okay, so you still have your shark swimming in one place. And this is what I do with almost every creature that I do, where I'll literally move him off center like this here. And because of this hierarchy system that it's in here, I can now control like the movement. I can literally control the movement of the shark. So I will just go to my patch editor and I'll say loop animation, add a transition, and then I will pop the rotation in here. 0, 360. Change the duration to 20. And then all you need to do is just adjust your shadow so it looks as if it matches. Play. And now I can move it around. And then just the extra cool little features that I did was having these things animate. So again, if you go in here, because everything is linked, you can start animating these little gadgets. So for example, this one I just did on screen tap and it would open. So for example, this thing, if I want this thing to spin, again, I just take its rotation. Copy and paste that. Set on 360. So now you have your swimming shark. And that's basically it. And then any other extra thing I do is which I think is important just to make things look 3D, is do an extra light bake pass. You know, so you'll go into max again and you'll light the shark and then just yeah, you'll export a light bake.
So the light baking you would just bake into the diffuse texture?
Yeah. So okay, let me show you guys just another project, right? This is just how I did my shop, just in a nutshell. But no one's seen this yet. It's kind of a collaboration between a couple of us in the community. So let me open this up. So close it. Like this is just showing the difference between doing a light bake and not doing one. Okay. So this here is a scene that that we're busy on at the moment, and I'll show you the difference between not doing a light bake and doing a light bake. Right, so let me see which one is it. Roll 2. Okay, yeah. This is okay. So let me just wait for Max to open. So just this coral, for example, so I baked each coral out separately. So let me go to this table coral here. You know, where everyone is like, you know, because everyone thinks that after substance that your job is done. But in true fact, this is what happens when you bring your object in straight out of substance. Like this is what your object technically looks like. It's, you know, it's got no real 3-dimension to it. It's purely like it's purely ambient, you know, that's baked into it. So let me even switch this emission. So this is what you're basically gonna bring in, and then you're gonna start bringing in ORM maps. So I'll even bring in the ORM map of this here with the normal as well. Okay. So even if you bring the ORMs in and then normals, then I'll push that up. I'll take an environment, whatever, you know. So this is what you're gonna get standard. And to me, I'm like, nah, like this isn't yeah, this isn't quite what, right, open, this isn't quite what I'm looking for, where if you go into Max after you or if you go into Blender or whatever software you feel comfortable in, like if you go in there and you light your object and yeah. Yeah, but this is where I found you know, light baking a very important step to getting your stuff to look 3D. So you see, compared to what the substance map just did, like baking your light map is really important, because then you can get the real 3D feeling of a scene. You know, it's substance does a great job, but it doesn't quite give you that dimension in Spark, because Spark has no shadows. It's just really gonna give you your, the ambient that you baked, and yeah, all of that. So let me just wait for Max to open quickly. Really slow, guys. Yeah. So I'd say, once you've done all your substance painter work and all of that, go into Max or Blender or whatever, and light your scene. So light your scene again, and see if I hit render here. So this works for anything. Like, I've done this with with my Beatles, with even with the recent Ladybug effect. Like when I brought the wagons in, like the wagons just they didn't look 3D, because to me, real 3D objects have a light source that's coming from somewhere, where one side of an object needs to be dark and another object needs to be light. So when I see it just doesn't look real to me. And this step here it's truly like the secret sauce to what we do. Especially in our studio, like we really take the time to, so let me cancel that. And even down to the shadows on the floor, like even down to the shadows on the floor, like we bake out the shadow maps for that as well, in certain cases. So you can really get the bump details, and like see how it's so much better than when you just export out of substance. You really get that same effect that you get. See, taking out those diffuse maps, add the normal map on top of that, and have more control in Spark. So for example here, like you can just select this object and hit 0 in Max. Yeah, this is why I like Max so much, because like the you know, even their baking tools as well. I can bake a diffuse from one object onto another object. You can bake. So here you see you can bake out your complete maps and save them off. You know, you can save specular maps. Here you can add, you know, light-in alpha maps, all sorts of really cool stuff. And then once you bake that pass out, then you can literally bring it in and yeah, you'll have a lot more of a 3D looking scene. You know, even with the coral here, that you can still, you know, you can still have your normal map on top of it. You know, you still have control the way. So yeah. Yeah, and then that's pretty much our workflow. So you know, it consists of you know, first your modeling and your unwrapping, you know, taking things into substance, baking the high polys onto the low polys, you know, texturing, and then still taking your textured object into max and then lighting it again and just baking that lighting diffuser and rigging animation, and then you bring it into here. This fish as well, this fish is swimming in one place, and you know, just to save on animation space so that you don't have to export a 200 frame animation. You can rather control the character's motion through controllers and stuff like that. You know, these plants here are literally like, this whole scene at the moment is 2 megs. So I can still throw in, you know, a ton more stuff in here. You know, so it really is just smart ways of keeping your stuff optimized, you know, because like, you know, we all know you only get your 4 meg, so you need to, you know, you kind of need to look at everything smartly, or you know, be a little bit more smart about how you animate. And you know, a lot of it is game principles, you know, so you're baking your controllers and all of that stuff.
Yeah, man, very cool. So that was amazing, actually. Thanks so much for this walkthrough. And I think for, you know, a lot of people that seen that are not from this VFX background, such as yourself and such as myself also, for them it is super valuable information. For me, I mean, it is a kind of like a pretty standard workflow, so it's not necessarily, I mean, it's no magic involved, but as always, if you haven't seen it, then it is. And also thanks for the little things. So the sRGB issue, so in the chat it came up that Substance Painter might export it as sRGB. So, you know, actually what I did like a long time ago, well, in Spark time, so 1.5 years ago, was I did like an export setting for Substance Painter, but that kind of didn't really work either, and I didn't know that you can use the Unreal one, so that's super helpful. And here actually is the blog post about this Substance template from, like, officially from Adobe and Spark. This is already from last December. I tried it. I couldn't get it to work. So basically it gives you a material format which you cannot import into Spark. Like, it gives you a little JSON that supposedly is like a material you can just drag and drop, but it doesn't work. I think actually they probably made it for Facebook internal things, and for them it probably works, but they haven't activated it for the, you know, everyone else.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, maybe if you want to look into that, maybe you can get it to work. I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, it didn't work.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was that RGB, that linear to RGB. I don't know what, once that was figured out, like because we started going into Photoshop and we started messing with the gamma exposure,
right. Yeah.
just to pull that exposure down. But
Yeah.
that was a cheap way where, changing it to RGB just made the metal look fantastic.
I just wanna check out real quick if you in Substance how do you do that again? If you like, I think you have to have something. Okay, so there's a Spark AR Studio template available. That's good. But now I do need the model, I suppose, right? Let's see if I have some SPX something here real quick. What is here? Cloud test. I don't know what that is. Let's see what that is.
Yeah, because I had someone message me the other day as well, and they also had the same issue with the RGB linear thing. Like once they switched it from linear to RGB, like the results were just, it's like perfect,
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, if Substance Painter exports the maps as sRGB, then you have to switch it to sRGB in Spark as well. But the whole idea of the whole idea of PBR is actually that you have a consistent workflow throughout the packages and that you do not want to fuck with that stuff anymore. So everything should be linear. Actually, what the tool should do is if it should look like if you import a JPEG, which is an sRGB, it should convert it into linear color space, and then the whole processing pipeline should just do any calculation in linear color space, and then only in the very end it should convert it back into sRGB to display it on the screen. That's the whole idea of PBR. And as in color management, what happened is that so basically it's like color management means that colors never look the same. But anyway, so now my Substance Painter is crashing because probably the file I imported was crazy huge. I don't know what it was, but anyway, I mean, whatever. The point is, this is something people could investigate, look into Substance Painter if you have the Unreal export preset, whether you can change it to linear, and then it should just look exactly the same, right?
Yeah. Now we just stumbled across all of this stuff. That's why I said, like, for me, it's like, this is just my way of doing it. Like, it might not be the correct way of doing it.
No, I know, but the things like I always feel that if you, for me, it's like I want to understand what's going on, because if I know what's going on, then I can fix it, right? So now I'm curious why is it as RGB when it should be linear? But I mean, of course, you're right. It is mostly about the artistic. Like if you have a good eye, then you can obviously fix it, even though it's not, technically correct.
No, it's I can agree. I need to do the opposite. I need to start learning why these things do this.
All right, cool. So let's have a look. So those are here the output templates that you're using Unreal for SSS, and then somewhere here you should probably be able to adjust 8-bit.
I think is there a pack? You can rather use the pack instead of the SSS.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, as a still, well, I have no idea. I haven't looked into that properly, but somewhere probably you should be able to adjust and say, hey, don't use which color space it uses.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, you know,
Yeah.
export color space. All right. Okay. Oh, there's something on the forum. So, in which color space are textures are important? Something that will both export all maps in linear color space. Aha. So, it's not correct apparently that. Oh no, hold on. What is this? Is this the? Oh, this is a. Or okay, the maps exported from Substance Painters are in sRGB or gamma encoded space. What the
Yeah.
fuck? Why? This is not what it should be. What is he
It's the
saying?
gamma. It's definitely the gamma, because we started noticing like it was definitely a gamma issue, because when we play with the exposure in Photoshop, like, and we push the exposure down, it would fix it. But
Yeah.
we were honestly like, why would we have to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Until someone mentioned switching
yeah.
it from linear to RGB, and
Yeah, so this is the answer. That this is actually well, but this is an older post. Well, how can I? Isn't it possible to switch? That would be crazy. Export.
yeah, so it's definitely in the gamma situation, or like I said, a gamma issue that that could be.
Okay, but you can change it. Okay, how do you change it?
Yeah.
Configuration, color management, preferences. All right, let's see. Okay, so preferences, settings, no. Page. Okay. Well, I don't know. My version looks different. I don't know where it is.
I think the next thing I'm gonna try is probably try the Spark preset. Like, I haven't tried that yet, so I'll see what happens on that side. But
Yeah. Okay, well, I don't know. Doesn't seem to be. Sorry. Okay, so this is what I found was for Substance Designer. Maybe Substance Painter cannot do it. I don't know. Yeah, but anyway.
yeah. So I don't know, certain things I wouldn't change to RGB. Like I said, as an artist, like, I just look and I see what looks appealing to me. So if an object does look, like, for example, the coral, I didn't switch it to RGB because I actually like that, that more bounce lighting look to it, whereas a metal needs to be a lot more darker. So
Yeah.
I just honestly, I go by eye.
Yeah, but
And
I mean, it's still. Of course, you can do that. Then that's what I do.
yeah,
Actually, that's actually what I do. And so far, I haven't been able to get the PBR material and substance to behave in a way that I like it. So I was very curious how you do it, because I usually try it and then I just revert back to the standard material, which usually gives me a better result, because I don't know, but your stuff looks amazing. So anyway, sRGB it is. Substance Painter does in fact export maps as sRGB, which is fucking crazy in my mind. But
yeah,
here we are.
which
Well, I mean, there's worse things in the world currently, I suppose, on that. But
yeah,
cool. Yeah, thanks again. Very thorough, very well prepared, really cool. And yeah, so
awesome.
awesome. Yeah. Hey, you said you guys are. I want to post your a website on the chat. Is the one is chefs .co.za, correct?
Yeah, that's .co.za,
All right. So
South Africa.
this one here, and you said you're on the official Spark. What they
Yeah,
call it, like.
we one of two companies from Africa, the Africa region. So yeah, either Sea Monster or us Pixel Chips. Yeah, we've been open for 4 years now,
Yeah.
going on 5 now. So yeah.
And did they, I mean, Facebook contact you to do that, or did you ask them to be there, or how did that work?
So what happened was we were there was a hackathon in Cape Town, and we were invited. I can't even remember. I think they saw the Makaraba that Dylan built. Um, I think it was in 2017. We were one of the first people to be accepted as well when it was still AR Studio.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, one of the guys in the Africa division, he saw some of our work, and we got invited to a hackathon to participate, and we did really well at the hackathon. And yeah, from that day we were announced as partners, you know, and then from there, all of a sudden, we ended up as one of the two companies that were at that hackathon as Spark partners.
and is there a lot of work coming in through that channel?
Yeah, there's a lot of work. Like at the moment, we swamped. Um, yeah, we have two projects that are kind of like top secret at the moment, but we've done stuff for Doritos. Um, we've done stuff for Vodacom, uh, Pepsi, Coca-Cola. We've done filters for Disney. Um, we we've done some movie filters. So yeah, we keep very busy. Yeah. It's yeah, we get quite a bit of work
That's
from that
great.
aspect.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. So that was a lucky coincidence in a way. So a lucky chance that you were at that hackathon and had the
Yeah.
ability to become part of this program, I suppose. So I'm still curious a little bit about your background. So you said you founded the company 4 years ago, and before that, were you working freelance mostly, or working at other companies as staff, or what was your position? Also modeling, or what did you do?
Um, I used to work at a digital agency before I started Pixel Shifts with the guys. We were doing a lot of um, that word was being thrown around a lot, that experiential design,
Yeah.
where we were building, we were doing animation, but we were also kind of like hacking things. So um, we hacked the kind of, I wouldn't call it hacking. We'd plug Xbox Kinects into computers and do 3D scanning and make motion sensor games. Um, that's also where I started to dabble a lot with AR and VR. Um, we did a lot of work for South African tourism where we would offer them kind of like hands-free interfaces. So instead of like someone, um, coming through to like a touch screen, we'd have Kinects that you would swipe through information. We'd also do touch table applications. Um, we just really bring the 3D aspect into it, and also gamify like a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Well, that's a
yeah,
good.
so
It's a good field to experiment with things, I suppose, right? So that's good if you can try different things. I like that. That's actually what I like about Spark, and this is probably also why I don't necessarily do this. What we talked about today is because it's such an established thing to do. So it's like, okay, it's craftsmanship, right? But it's not necessarily figuring stuff out in a way. I don't know.
Yeah. Now
But
you
again,
guys are the champs at that. Like when I look at Josh and what you doing as well with the patch editor, like we could never get um that skillful, so we just know what we're good at, and
yeah.
we work on what we're good at,
Yeah. At the end of the day, the result is what matters, and so I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm basically thinking out loud as well. So it's like, what's the point for me to fuck with that stuff? But like, I'm always again like I'm saying this is also why I did this stream, is that I'm curious in learning things, and this is what I like about it, like learning together. This is what I
Yeah,
like, and yeah, obviously everyone has a different background. So what for someone might be new and super exciting, for someone else might be not as exciting because they worked in this field already for a long time, or whatever the case. But
yeah,
it is actually funny, I think, to see that, because like the people that were on the stream are all obviously, I mean, I didn't necessarily pick them myself, but there were suggestions that people sent to me, and hey, can we get Kim on? He does amazing work, and so on. So it could be anyone, but usually it is people with already some experience in the field. So I think like if everyone we had, let's see, yeah, literally everyone we had on, they were already people with a lot of experience in their specific field, and then they come in to the Spark thing and kind of, yeah, I don't know, do their thing
yeah,
here. So it's really cool. It's really fun, and it
yeah.
reminds
Now
me a little bit.
oh, sorry. Now I was just gonna say, like, another exciting thing about Spark is all the limitations. Like trying to get all of that stuff into 4 megs. And push like a great experience that's optimized. I think that's also where like our business managed to kind of take off, as our team, or each man in our team, is really good at optimizing.
Yeah,
So we really know how to push a 4 meg to the limit. So
yeah, and that's literally how I sell the stuff to our clients as well. This is literally what I say. Hey, okay, so my pitch is always, let's see if the other camera is still on. It's okay. Yeah, okay. So my pitch is always that. So there are some people who know web design, but they don't know 3D and VFX. And there are some people who do know 3D, but they don't know interactive. And we do both, right? We can take the 3D stuff, yeah, high end VFX, and bring it to the interactive world.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
literally my elevator pitch.
I think we all like in the same pond, like
Yeah.
um
No, I mean
yeah.
not necessarily. I don't know. I mean you know because I mean I don't know. I mean the mill is probably saying the exact same thing. Hey, I don't know. Is Mike on the show? Is the mill saying the exact same thing? Mike, is are they? I don't know. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's true.
All each guy in the team as well, like for example, like Nelson. I don't know if you know Nelson Rebello is so one of the creators that's part of our team.
Oh yeah, okay. I
Um,
didn't realize that. Okay, very cool. Yeah.
yeah, so it's Nelson and Dylan. We all work in the same. He's also a partner. Um, but Nelson is just really good at um, especially lighting effects these days. Like controlling lights through sound, and um, so each man in the team has a. I mean, Dylan's the guy that showed us about the light baking almost 2 years ago. and we use it for everything. The macaraba was light baking, so um, yeah, we all kind of play on each other's strengths.
Yeah.
Nelson's really good with patch editor. Dylan's really good at um, at realism as well. Um, I'm
Yeah,
just
I
the
mean,
animal guy.
regarding the light baking, I think like if you look at a little object like the shark, then it totally works to just bake the light into the diffuse map, right? Like traditionally, if you look at games, what they would do is have a different UV set for light baking, and that's what we did on the stream with Matt. I think it was like 2 or 3 streams ago when we did bake the light, the GI, the light
Yeah.
map to the vertex colors. So that's something you could do
Oh,
as well. Yeah, if you
oh,
check out the stream, that is if you have basically a lot of very high res textures that
yeah.
repeat. So let's say you have like a super high res. I did the example with a kind of like a rock. So you have maybe a landscape of rocks and the texture is high res and you have memory issues and you want to reuse that one asset, but you only want to have the texture once. Then obviously you cannot bake the lighting to diffuse, right? Like basically you have two stones, the sun is here, and then the one stone will hit here, the other here. So you know,
Oh, wow.
so
Wow.
what I did is bake the lighting to vertex colors, right, to save memory basically. But yeah, usually
Oh,
it's probably not necessary in effects where you have one or two objects. Oh, actually, I wanted to ask you. You did this cool scene with the subway car, right?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
How did you do the glass?
Um, the glass, it's pretty much spark planes. Like I placed each, so um I exported the card without the windows, and then I literally made a spark plane and I copied those over, and I
Well, but
put like I literally put um an environment channel in the physically based, and I just played with the opacity.
oh,
It's
okay,
really simple. It's like how Joanna did shiny face.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
or plastic face. I don't know what
Oh
they
man,
call it. Yeah, but it's the exact same thing. Like
yeah.
it's really just 5 minutes a minute. Yeah.
No, it looked great because it does have some reflection on it, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much just reflecting a environment map, you know.
So, and another thing I didn't catch, unfortunately, at the beginning of when you started explaining that the base model of the shark is something you just downloaded, or is it something you modeled?
Nah, the base model of the shark I just downloaded, but I retypologized stuff
Yeah,
because it was a mess. So
yeah,
I literally had to take it, retypologize, bring it back into Max, and then bake the diffuse back onto the new object, and then start from there. Yeah, so and then I would just build the armor on top of um I just built the armor on top of that shark.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Very cool. And why did you choose the shark, actually?
I don't know, like I said, I just have certain things going on in my life, and um something was just like uh make this creature that's just so like a vicious creature, but he still needs this armor to kind of like protect, what's inside, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
me
yeah.
myself, I can be a very like intimidating person. Like I've been that guy that screams, and um people that know me because of my kind of life, um I became a very angry person, so
Wow. Okay.
that that piece that piece kind of just meant something a bit more to me than just the swimming shark.
That's very deep. I actually chose the shark because I googled free green screen footage and the shark came up.
Yeah, that's why I say like for me, a lot of people look at my stuff and it seems like it doesn't have much meaning, but there's always some sort of backstory to it,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
know.
So what's the what's the backstory to the subway car then?
Uh, that piece was supposed to be, you know, something that was supposed to be a romantic piece in a sense where, you know, I always felt like that kid in the back of the bus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
So like my first initial idea was, you know, to kind of have these business people go into work. So you just have this tram that goes around that would have like these puppets in it, but each puppet would be like a suit, you know, what we call like just business people, you know, and I was gonna put the kid in the back of the bus that was like this
That was
colorful kid, you know what I'm saying, where you could
yeah,
go
yeah.
inside and see this kid, but then Corona hit, and I ended up spending the first week to 2 weeks of lockdown working on that, and I decided to scrap that idea, and I was like, you know what, let me just call this thing the Corona Express. You know, I was speaking to a lot of people in New York that use, um, you know, that use public transportation, and I was like, hey, you know what, like, let me just call this the Corona Express because like the subways are empty, you know,
So
and yeah.
are you guys still at home doing home office?
Yeah, yeah, we're still doing home office here. I think one of our members uses the office still, but we're still keeping things locked down here.
So what's the plan? When are you going back?
I don't know. Like for me personally, until there's some sort of like proper solution for this, I don't think, you know. And plus, I think I saw one of your episodes with Luke, where Luke said like people can work remotely, you know, and for our kind of work, like, you know, we send test links online anyway, so there's no need for anyone to be, you know, you have a Zoom call, you do your meeting catch ups. So until then, I don't know. I don't think we go in back anytime soon.
Yeah, same here. Although I gotta say, I mean, for me it was pretty good. Luckily we have an apartment which is not tiny, so that you do have a little space, and our two kids get along really well, and they play together and so on. But after now, what is it like? I started not going to out in the beginning of March. So it's like March, April, May. It's like 3 months. So it starts getting a little tedious. I don't know. But
Yeah,
I'm totally not a big fan of like now reopening everything, because obviously this is probably not gonna end well. But
yeah,
anyway, I don't know. Who am I to say?
yeah,
Maybe it will. But I think that probably then it won't be a vaccine
yeah,
shortly. But this will probably take a while. And I mean, you can't stay in for the next like 5 to 10 years, can you? I don't.
yeah. Yeah, no, my daughter's school is opening. That was why the ladybug even came out, because my daughter's school is opening at the end of June, and I'm terrified because I have to fetch her from school every day. You know, so you know, my daughter is 7 at the moment.
Yeah.
So how do you get a 7-year-old to wash their hands and not to like take their mask off and all of that stuff? So
Yeah, you don't.
um
Like
you don't, you
it is
know,
what it is.
so
But I
yeah,
mean,
so
most likely, we as I mean, I don't know about you, but if you're not part of a risk group, then most likely you won't have a big problem, even if you you get the
Yeah.
disease. So knock
Yeah.
on wood, right? No, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily. I think it's not necessarily an individual problem as much as a more general problem. So, but I mean, that means you guys haven't noticed that kind of like you have a lot of work going on. You have noticed that went down because of the pandemic.
You know, it went down very briefly. I was still working on stuff because we do projects all over the world, you know, in Germany, um, you know, Colorado, New York, um, you know, we get, and here at home. So projects slowed down for maybe like, you know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but now it's just insane. You know, I
Oh yeah,
think they realize it now that like the only way to get to people is
yeah,
not through a billboard, because a lot of these companies' budgets that was spent on billboards and that was spent on um, football stadiums and all of that, they need to take that budget and turn it into the number one thing being used online now, which is filters.
right,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like one of my effects, I don't know if you're familiar with my tree frog effect, the frog that runs on your face.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Of course.
yeah, um, that effect went from 800,000 views to 41 million views in the space of a week to 2 weeks.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
so I've seen a huge increase in the usage of even my filters. You know, so they they'd rather be spending that budget because uh you know it has to be spent. You know,
Right.
yeah. So
Well,
so
that's
we
good. That's great to hear. So that's good. I mean, let's hope it stays that way.
yeah.
So I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
know.
just yeah, I just so like I still think to myself sometimes, you know, that even the whole filter game might be a you know, a hype thing now, or what's the word for it?
Yeah, hype.
You
Yeah,
know,
I
it's
think
it's
so.
hype now and then it's gone tomorrow, but I don't see this as it being Spark AR or Lens Studio or some filter. Like I honestly see this as augmented reality in general, you know, and that core technology is so important. Like I look at Google Lens and I'm like, wow, dude, like this is the future of Googling, you know, like the um I truly do see a huge potential for computer vision in general. You know, once these AR effects go to glasses or eyewear, and you actually have, um, you know, AR that can even respond back to you. You know, so you can speak to the characters that you see, and they talk back to you. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to me, that's powerful. You know, so that really is the core technology for me that excites me more than the platform that it's on. You
Yeah, yeah.
know,
I totally
yeah,
agree. I totally agree. And it's again like I've been saying that I think on every episode of the stream, but it's to me it's like so funny how if you understand the core principles of something, then you can reuse it every time, right? Like the stuff you
yeah,
showed, it doesn't matter whether you use it in Spark. You can use the exact same workflow in Lens Studio, or you can use
yeah,
the exact same workflow in Unity or in Unreal or what have you. And
yeah,
the basics you need to know, which we haven't touched upon, but like if you talking about retopology, then you need to know about proper topology, obviously, and like edge flow and stuff like that, which is like this is like ancient stuff, like this people
yeah,
started doing this in the 90s or whatever. So and it all comes
yeah,
back. So that's really cool. And yeah, and I totally agree. Like all this stuff will definitely stay relevant, no
yeah,
matter what, and everything will shift towards digital, no matter what.
yeah.
And,
It's
yeah,
like a lot
I
of
agree.
people, they call them filters. I don't even call them filters. I call them experiences.
Yeah,
Um, you know, so for me, I build more experiences than a filter. You know, so it truly is the way, you know, that I perceive everything, because before Spark, like, um, I mean, I'd already been building augmented reality experiences for 6, 7 years before Spark even showed up. You know, the most important thing to me was the accessibility to those experiences. You know, because no one wants to download an app to view something. You know, where where you could send a person a link and they could experience it. That to me was the most important thing, was how do I get 1 million people to see this? You know,
yeah.
the core technology already excited me, like, and I already saw the value in placing digital objects in people's spaces. The big question was, how do you get to the people? you
Right,
know
yeah,
and that's what Spark and Lens Studio and all of that opened up, was that accessibility. you
yeah.
know
Although I do feel, I mean, with Spark, this is basically that's their selling point. They are saying basically. Let me go to the 1.8 what is this billion users. Dun dun dun. I mean, sorry. And yeah, but actually, I think it's cool, but it's a little bit, but it's fun to make Spark do things that it's not capable of, but it's also super frustrating. Like it's like I think it should not be that way. I think, to be honest, I think it should behave in a more standardized way. There would be more, well, because like some things you just have to jump through crazy hoops to do things that are just super normal anywhere else. That's kind
yeah,
of frustrating a lot of times, I feel. But yeah,
yeah,
core skills.
yeah.
Alrighty. So I don't know. You wanna? Is there anything else you want to talk about? I don't want to cut it short, but I mean we've been already.
No, it's all right. I'm an early bird. I sleep early and I wake up really early.
Oh yeah.
I need to be up at, like, I'm up at 4 a.m. every
Holy
morning.
shit.
So I run by 5 o'clock. Ran 6 kilometers, and then, so I prefer to keep my mornings um my center time.
Yeah. Well, when do you go to sleep usually then?
Usually 10:30 latest,
Yeah.
like
Well, me
11
too.
o'clock.
Me too.
Uh,
Like if you have kids and you have to get up to get them to school and everything, we usually get up at 6. But
yeah,
now that has progressed because now they don't have to go to school. So now it's more like a 10 maybe. And that's actually that's the
yeah,
benefit of having two, because they
yeah.
just get up, start playing, they do their thing, they make their own breakfast actually.
Wow.
And so I do enjoy that quite a bit. But but anyway, alrighty.
Yeah, no, it's like it's tough being a parent even of just one. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
But I
I
mean,
just
but
like,
4 a.m. is crazy.
yeah,
Doesn't.
no, it's the best time. You don't get, like I said, my emails get crazy. Like, once 8 o'clock hits, it's like emails, it's phone calls,
Yeah, of course.
and 4 a.m. is just where everything is just
Sure, it's
quiet.
a time where you
Yeah,
have time to do your own thing. I understand that a lot.
yeah.
So is that like you're the what is that, managing director of the company, or how do you split that up between the four of you?
Yeah. Well, we all kind of have our own um positions of power. We all just respect each other. We like to keep things equal, so equality is really an important thing. Yeah, I'm just truly one of the co-founders. So we have a staff of 6 or 7 people now, and um, yeah, most of us are senior guys there anyway. So yeah, we don't really say, "Hey, he's the boss," and
Oh, I know,
you
but I
know,
mean, usually what happens is that if you have
yeah,
multiple founders, that it just aligns in a way that one person is more geared towards communication with the client, and the other might be more doing the creative things, and the other might do more the technical
yeah,
or the administrative things or whatever. I don't know. That's usually
yeah.
what happens because
My brother and I, we do most of like the presenting and the creative, um, the creative side of it, just because of our background in design, um, and like having to present, so that I'd say, uh, that I'd say we more in the forefront of a lot of things, you know, um, like we all seem to kind of like manage our own um, client base, so we're just really well at delegating work. So we'd say, okay, um, my brother would be managing Coke and Pepsi, you know, and he'd be responsible for presenting and coming up with concept and all of that, So um, and then we have our accounts management that is in charge of billing and client relations. So yeah, I don't know. We kind of just run things a little differently. You know.
I mean, I think
Um,
it's cool that you guys, or you in this case especially, that you can still do your own things, like the little things you do, we talked about, and
yeah,
still keep working. That's something I do enjoy a lot, that I've been getting back into in the last couple of months to do my own stuff, because usually I was just basically leading teams and I wasn't working on anything myself anymore. I mean, being a creative director, working with clients, working with the team, but not actually making anything. And
yeah,
I missed that a lot, and I do enjoy doing that. And I think Spark is also cool for that, because it's like one person can do a cool filter, but at least at the level I was working at, one person could have never done a complete TV spot. I mean, there's no way. It's always a team effort,
yeah.
and I think it's kind of cool that you can just you know jam and then something cool comes out of it. I enjoy that a lot.
Now the weird thing with us is that like every the weird thing is every piece that I do um ends up becoming a promotional piece, because like
Yeah,
when I push a filter, like for some reason, like not even 2 days later, I'll get a job from it, you know. So we've just kept that culture of constantly creating, because it kind of attracts the market towards you, because every time a client comes to us, they end up using our work as reference, so um us making filters has become almost like our billboard. That's what attracts the work. So um no client has really come to us and said, hey, you know what, I want that filter that your last client had. They always like, yo, I saw the ladybug, like we want that.
yeah,
Or
that's
hey,
cool.
I saw the cookie
Yeah,
and we want that. Or hey, we saw the spider on the face, like we want that. So the more viral filters we create, the
yeah,
more eyes it sees, and then we all of a sudden get tons of work from it, you know.
yeah. That's an interesting one, because I keep hearing that from everyone. They all say that, and for me,
Mm,
it that wasn't the case. I mean, I've been doing this for forever, really. I mean, for decades. And I've always been busy. So I'm assuming that I don't suck at it, right?
No,
But it's not ever been the case that someone says, "Hey, we've seen this, whatever you made. We want exactly that." It's not ever been the case. But I hear that from a lot of people. So I don't know whether I'm doing something wrong or what. But yeah, I don't know. But probably I think like for what it is actually in the Spark realm is that again because I'm not necessarily interested in the final result. I make those weird things and then people don't know what to make of it. Actually, all my filters are offline because of the update thing that was scripting or whatever. But I haven't even bothered. I don't really care at all.
Yeah,
But
now we had a lot of break-in filters, and I also don't have the energy to go back and fix that stuff, you know. So
did you though? Did you fix all everything?
just my precious ones, like
Yeah.
my goldfish. You see, I also have a different angle to this because I don't know if you've seen my Instagram before, but the video that I post is just as important as the filter that I make. So my filters always come paired with a story, and my story is the video.
Right. I
You
see.
know,
Yeah.
so my video will last a lot longer than what my filter lasts. You know, so I kind of create the story in this video, and then I allow people to create their own stories using the filter themselves.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, so my brother said as well, is like the scary thing is how quick and how obsolete our stuff is gonna become.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So he was like, the videos are an amazing way to kind of keep that memory going. You know, so
But that will
uh,
that will be as obsolete as the other stuff. It's weird because
yeah,
it keeps accelerating, right?
yeah,
I've over the years kind of re-uploaded my content to I don't know how many different platforms,
yeah,
and Instagram is probably not going to be the last.
yeah,
So, but yeah, I'm just watching your page. I loved this one here. This one I thought was so cool. The one with the little ant crawling. I thought
yeah,
that one was especially cool because it was the first, and I think the only time I've seen the face filter used it was kind of like a flip on the format in a way, right? Because you
yeah.
see, it's really cool. I like that one a lot. Really cool idea.
I think
Also, depth of field leaves in the foreground, really nice.
yeah,
I did enjoy that a lot.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. Like those videos are just as important to me as the filters.
I
They
see,
like
yeah, yeah,
I put a lot of like energy and thought um into what I'm gonna do because I treat it like I treat any other CGI piece. It's just no one thinks that this is out of Spark, and all I'm doing is using
yeah.
Spark as the tracker instead of going into After Effects and
Right,
tracking
yeah,
that
yeah, of
way.
course.
You know, so all I need to do is just minor motion blurs and a grade, and yeah, then you have your content. You know, so it's been exciting. I really enjoy that aspect of making filters and videos.
Yeah, that's really cool. Kind of using Spark as a CG
Yeah,
tool. I wish it had an offline renderer though. That would be really cool if you could say, "Hey, this is a scene," and then just give me the uncompressed iris frames in 4K or whatever resolution you want, and I want 1,000 frames.
yeah,
Obviously, you couldn't do interactive stuff with it,
yeah,
but like for the stuff you're doing, that would be amazing. You just basically you go out and because then you could shoot a plate with a proper camera with nice depth of field, everything, put it in
yeah,
through Spark that basically does the whole, if you want to call it compositing for you,
Yeah.
And then you could render it out and keep going and do color correction and stuff like that. That would be really cool. And I think that exists somewhere internally with Facebook. So that would be something I would love to see. Actually, yeah. So that would be cool for stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't know, guys, on the chat, do you have any other questions for Kim? Maybe then let us know. And otherwise, I would probably rate this channel here. I just looked into who's doing cool stuff. This guy looks very promising. It's Arvid Schneider, senior visual effects artist working for Industrial Light and Magic in Vancouver. So yeah, Industrial Light and Magic, one of the only places in VFX that do not get busted every 2 years, and that apparently keeps their stuff around, more or less, right? You know, because everyone else always gets bankrupt pretty quickly.
Star Wars is keeping them alive, man. The fans are just so diehard.
What's that?
I said the Star Wars fans are just too diehard to like
True.
let
Good. Good point. Well, I mean, now it's owned by Disney, right? So it's maybe it's that unlimited Disney Mickey Mouse money, unlimited Mickey Mouse money. All right, man. Cool. Well, yeah. So thanks so much for the walkthrough. I think it's very, very valuable. Again, I think this is a great one to rewatch, and I think it's amazing for the people in the community to learn that stuff. And now everyone's gonna do photorealistic animal filters. That's maybe the next trend. Let's see. Shark. Do all shark filters. Shark challenge. That would be a good one.
The shark challenge, oh man.
All right, man. Yeah, great meeting you. I hope we talk soon.
I good to talk to you too, mate.
All right,
I really dig your stuff, man. Like you guys are the patch kings, man.
Thanks so much, man. All right. Cool. All right. Yeah.
All right, so, cheers. Yeah, I'm gonna head out now. Like, this was fun.
Cool. Yeah, it was. It was really cool.
Keep safe, man, during these times. Like, just
will do.
Chaos out there.
Alrighty. Take care, man.
Alright, cool. You too, man.
Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Cheers. Yeah, guys. So that was it for tonight. That was the 8th and let's say final episode of the first season. That's what I'm going to call it. Thanks so much for sticking around. A lot of good shit happening tonight in the stream once again. And now we're gonna go raid this guy's channel. So yeah, take care. See you on the forum. See you when I'm back, maybe eventually, hopefully, for the next Sparky stream. Bye bye.